Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, the 5th of August. Tropical Storm Isaias drives wild weather up the Interstate 95. And in an episode of Axios on HBO, President Donald Trump discussed his handling of the coronavirus pandemic, upcoming elections, and much more. A wave of evictions expected as the moratorium ends in many states. And the Census door knocking cut a month short amidst pressure to finish the count. And 5 people who attended a meeting with DeSantis in Florida tested positive for the coronavirus. Caught on camera, Colorado police handcuffing kids. And Hertz must offload almost 200,000 cars by the end of 2020 as part of its bankruptcy deal. And lastly, Michelle Obama celebrates Barack's 59th birthday with sweet tribute. New adventures to come. Let's get to the news. At least 4 people were killed as Tropical Storm Isaias spun tornadoes and dumped rain Tuesday along the U.S. East Coast after making landfall as a hurricane in North Carolina, where it caused floods and fires that displaced dozens of people. 2 people died when Isaias spun off a tornado that struck a North Carolina mobile home park. Authorities say at least 2 others were killed by falling trees which toppled by the storm in Maryland and New York. More than 15 hours after coming ashore, Isaias still had sustained top winds of about 65 miles per hour at 2 p.m. Tuesday. The storm center was about 65 miles west of New York City, where winds forced Staten Island Ferry and outdoor subway systems lines to shut down. As Isaias spun northward up about 40 miles per hour, the National Hurricane Center warned of potential life-threatening floods around Philadelphia and other points of the I-95 corridor. This is a portion of the commentary where I just, give my personal thoughts on the stories for this afternoon. So the first story is Storm Isaias. Tropical Storm Isaias made landfall on Tuesday morning, late Monday night, onto the South Carolina coastline and made its way up the I-95 corridor, dumping tons of rain and flooding in some areas, a lot of tree and power outages. So hopefully, our prayers go out to the families and individuals affected by this storm. And it's always extra hard when we're dealing with a storm or a natural disaster on top of some other crisis, and dealing with this pandemic as we are still is a bit challenging for those people who actually have to deal with, of course, the damage of their property. So we want to make sure we keep those people lifted up, and hopefully they will be able to receive relief soon and not have to go too long without essential things like power and such and things like that. So that's all I have for that. Sending those prayers out. President Donald Trump said in an interview with Axios on HBO that he thinks the coronavirus is well controlled in the U.S., as it can be, despite the dramatic surges in new infections over the course of the summer, with more than 150 Americans' deaths. He's quoted as saying, "It is what it is, but that does not mean that we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control as much as you can control it. It's a horrible plague." This is what he told Axios' Jonathan Swan. However, the U.S. is averagely roughly averaging roughly, 65,000 new cases and 1,000 deaths per day. The virus has already killed nearly 150,000 Americans, and it is spread largely unchecked through almost the entire country without June and July. In the interview, which took place last Tuesday, Trump returned to familiar themes and areas where the U.S. really has made significant progress. He cited the dramatic increase in ventilator production and the ramp up in testing and treatment that has reduced the overall fatality rate of the virus. The U.S. is experiencing a long turnaround time for the coronavirus testing, as Trump acknowledged, because of the high demand for the test. But that is largely a function of the country's high caseload and the number of people at risk of infection.
Okay. Now look, we're last, meaning we're first. Last. We're lower than the world.
Lower than the world?
Lower than
what is that?
Europe. Here's one right here, United States. You take the number of cases.
Okay.
Now look, we're last, meaning we're first.
Last? I don't know what we're first in.
I don't know John Lewis. He chose not to come to my inauguration. He chose, I never met John Lewis, actually. I did more for the black community than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. Whether you like it or not, people say, "Oh, that's
you really you believe you did more than Lyndon Johnson, who passed the Civil Rights Act?"
I think I did, yeah.
How?
So we have a new phenomena. It's called mail-in voting, where you send a governor.
It's been here since the Civil War.
In terms of the kind of millions and millions of ballots, they've never.
It'll be bigger this year because of the pandemic.
Bigger? Not bigger, massively bigger. He called me. He said, "I just got a ballot
Probably
for
an
my
application.
son Robert. He died 7 years ago. Somebody got a ballot for a dog. Somebody got a ballot for something else." Her friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed?
Do you read your written brief?
I do. I read a lot.
Really?
You know, I read a lot. They like to say I don't read. I read a lot.
Your daily intelligence brief?
I comprehend extraordinarily well, probably better than anybody that you've interviewed in a long time. I read a lot. I spend a lot of time at meetings. Usually it's once a day or at least 2 or 3 times a week.
All right, now that we've seen this interview with President Donald Trump and Axios' Jonathan Swan, who does a lot of commentary for MSNBC, it was a well-rounded, very kind of somewhat hard-hitting interview. Dealing with someone who's not that intellectually sound. So, an interview like this, for some, it's a great job, but it was a terrible interview. What to say to someone who really does not think of human life the way a lot of us value human life? If it has no value to it, then he sees no purpose. Said, but again, this is the person that we have as president, at least for less than 100 days. So, Yeah. Good job. Good job. Around 30 states' moratoriums have expired since May, according to the eviction lab at Princeton University. On top of that, some tenants were already encountering illegal evictions even with the moratorium. The impacts on the economy, key GOP senators backs food stamps boost in virus relief bill. Tenants are crowding courtrooms or appearing virtually to detail how the pandemic has upended their lives. Some are low-income families who have endured evictions before, but there are also plenty of wealthier families facing homelessness for the first time and now being forced to navigate an overcrowded and sometimes dangerous shelter system amidst the pandemic. Experts predict the problem will only get worse in the coming weeks, with 30 million unemployed and uncertainty whether Congress will extend the extra $600 weekly unemployment benefits that expired on Friday. The federal eviction moratorium that protects more than 12 million renters living in federally subsidized apartments or units with federally backed mortgages expired on July 25th. If not extended, landlords can initiate eviction proceedings in 30 days. All right, so here's some good news I can share with some that at least it looks like the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will be negotiating a deal to extend the unemployment benefits and the moratoriums for evictions. So hopefully a lot of people will be able to maintain or stay in their rented homes as well as owners as well. So hopefully they will be able to give equal protection to renters as well as homeowners. So we will see in the coming days how that goes. Hopefully people will be able to get the relief they're so desperately needing during this time of uncertainty of not only their health, but also their jobs. Again, like I've said before, we do have to realize that this pandemic causes a lot of people who had, regularly scheduled salary jobs to now these companies may have to cut back, which would also cause a lot of families to have to downsize and things of that nature. So it is definitely a level that impacts a whole lot of people on a wider scale than so narrowly suggested. The Census Bureau is cutting short critical door-knocking efforts for the 2020 census amid growing concern among Democrats in Congress that the White House is pressuring the Bureau to wrap up counting soon for political gain. Attempts by the Bureau workers to conduct in-person interviews for the census will end on September 30th, not October 31st. The end of the date indicated in April would be necessary to count every living person in the U.S., given major setbacks from the coronavirus pandemic. 3 Census Bureau employees who were informed of the plan during the separate internal meeting on Thursday confirmed that the new end date with NPR was for September 30th. Other employees spoke on conditions of anonymity out of fear of losing their jobs. About 4 out of 10 households nationwide have not participated in the constitutional mandated count for every person living in the U.S., and self-responded rates are even lower in many communities. This month, the Bureau began deploying door knockers to visit unresponsive homes in certain parts of the country. Door knocking efforts are expected to roll out nationwide August 11th. It is unclear how much longer households can submit census responses on their own by going online, over the phone, or by mail. All right, this Republican Congress is playing no games and holding no punches back on as much as power as they're trying to retain just in case the Trump ticket winds up losing in November. So they are working diligently to maintain any level of power that they can, so much so that they have decided to cut the census nationwide while they go door to door knocking to get further information from the people who have not filled the census out either online or by mail. So then they go in person. And the census is basically a counting of all of its citizens, and it allocates the funds as far as resources for the community centers, libraries, schooling districts. They allocate all those funds as well as representation as far as in your Congress, in your local Congress and Senate, and in DC. All of these things are kind of worked through the census, so they find out, how many people live in one area, and depending upon those people is how many representatives you get for your particular area that represent you, where you live. And so the Senate Republicans, as well as other members in Congress, have decided to cut the census short instead of it being completed by October 31st, so they can get an accurate count of all of the U.S. citizens. They're cutting it on September 30th, which is a whole month short from its estimated timeline to be able to have every American counted. Now you ask, well, what's the purpose of this? Of course, it's to make sure that they keep Republican districts thriving well in a lot of these states that have turned purple, as they say, not quite blue, to make sure they keep a stronghold on a lot of the red belt states. So they're trying everything they can to make sure they maintain a structure of power. So this will be interesting to see how far this goes. Nanette Schimpf, a spokesperson for the Florida Sheriff Association, confirmed to The Hill that the FSA warned top state elected officials, including DeSantis, and all attendees about their possible exposure to the COVID-19 2 days after the meeting. 6 people attended the meeting at the Boca Raton Springs Hotel. Schimpf told the news service that the association and the hotel took every precaution and exceeded social distancing recommendations during the event, which required masks and one table per person set 10 feet apart from each other and disinfectant of the area every hour. Nevertheless, the unidentified attendees told the association that they tested positive for COVID-19 last Wednesday. FSA provided notice to all participants the same day, and that the attendee also personally called everyone they interacted with at the meeting as an additional notification measure. By Monday, Florida Correction Secretary Mark Inch and Correction Deputy Secretary Ricky Dixon, along with all 5 other attendees of the Sheriff's Association meeting, it is not known whether they contracted the disease there or elsewhere. Florida's 7-day average in newly identified coronavirus cases has fallen to 8,448 cases per day. The state has been an epicenter of the pandemic in the U.S. throughout July. We have another one of our stories from one of our famous people in Florida. what else about? Florida is full of wonderful, great people that always bring us great entertainment and fun. But here we have the governor of the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis and 5 other individuals basically having a conference with the Sheriff Association, and 4 or 5 of the members or people in the meeting end up testing positive for COVID-19. I believe it was about roughly 10 individuals. So about half of the people at this particular meeting wind up contracting COVID-19. They took the proper precautions to inform everybody who was at the meeting that they had tested positive, and anybody they came in contact with on their way to the meeting during the day, what have you. So, this just goes to show you once again that this virus is real, and it hits all aspects of life. When some people think they are somewhat protected from it, they are actually not as protected as they think. So it just brings to light more so how serious to take something that they don't even know how it's contracted completely, just kind of playing it by ear as if it is something like the common cold or flu. And well, in fact, in reality, we have no idea the magnitude of. Colorado Aurora Police Department has opened an internal investigation after several children were handcuffed at gunpoint during a weekend traffic stop. The Aurora Police Department said police officers detained a family, a driver, and multiple children after a vehicle was mistakenly identified as stolen Sunday morning. Brittany Gilliam, who identified herself as the driver, said that she had taken her nieces and younger sister and daughter to get their nails done. And when they realized the salon was closed, they got back in the car. That's when, she said, police surrounded their car with guns drawn.
This morning was supposed to be a girls' trip to get nails done. But before this family got to an open salon, they were detained by Aurora police.
I saw a car next to me with 4 girls in it. Feet were up on the dash. It was real cute. And next thing I know, the police pull up silently behind them and had guns drawn on the children.
Jennifer Wirtz started recording on her phone when the police handcuffed the kids and put them face down on the ground.
That's police brutality. I don't give a damn what nobody say. That's police brutality.
From right to left, the video shows a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
She's screaming for her mother, and I'm trying to calm her down.
Police say they detained this family because they got a report of a stolen vehicle from the parking lot at East Iliff Ave and Buckley Road. But Brittany Gilliam's car wasn't what they should have been looking for.
He's like, something about the car being reported stolen. And I was like, this happened months ago. You guys cleared it. We had to pick up the car the next day, the very next day. So I'm not understanding what's going on.
Brittany's car was stolen in February and found the next day. The vehicle that was actually reported stolen on Sunday morning was a motorcycle with Montana plates. It just happened to have the same license plate number as Brittany's Colorado plate.
There's no excuse why you didn't handle it a different type of way.
Aurora police say they are trained to do what's called a high-risk stop when contacting a stolen car. That means weapons are drawn and the people in the car are told to lie on the ground.
It's like they don't care. Who am I going to call when my life is in danger?
The family filed a complaint against Aurora police. They want protocol to change so this won't happen to other kids. In Aurora, Katie Eastman, 9 News.
And once again, those of you who had watched my show earlier this evening, Politics and Wellness, I spoke about this incident in Aurora, Colorado. Mind you, Aurora is the same town that that young man who was a bit autistic was detained by the police because someone called and said he was walking down the street with a ski mask as if that was illegal, which he wore because he was anemic and he gets cold at night. Anything we do is a bit problematic. So it's just a bit of a, it's sad that we have to go through all these changes to make others feel comfortable. And when they don't feel comfortable, they have every right to call the police. And then the police have every right not to ask questions and then go about their business, but to deeply inquire and be inquisitive about our whereabouts, as if that really makes a difference. If I answer your questions, if I choose to, then I should be able to go about your business. But the fact that this person was no threat to you, but you still didn't like the way he answered you because you wanted more of a submissive person when they addressed you, then you took it upon your hands to do those extra things, which wind up causing that young man his very life. So, again, we come to a place where when is enough, and these young girls were out on a particular day just to get their nails done. Apparently the car was reported stolen, and they showed up at this car guns blazing when the actual license plate was a different state, same similar number but different state, and it was a motorcycle. Now, how you miss that from it being a motorcycle to an actual minivan is beyond me, but what do I know, right? So yeah, it was a complete and utter mistake, but these young children were on the ground with guns pointed to them, and this is the kind of trauma that the other counterparts never have to witness. So I don't understand why people don't see that this trauma is what our young children are experiencing on a daily basis, that your children will never have to experience, and that alone should bring you pause. As part of the bankrupt proceedings, rental car giant Hertz will have to offload nearly 200,000 cars by the end of the year, according to a recent United States Security and Exchange Commission filing. Hertz, which filed for bankruptcy in May, must dispose of at least 182,521 leased cars by December 31st, 2020. The filing reads, "This is part of a $650 million temporary deal that the company made with the creditor group," reported the Wall Street Journal. The deal requires Hertz to pay its assets-backed security lenders $650 million for rent in equal installments per month from July to December. An unnamed person familiar with the deal told the Journal that this amount to about half of what Hertz is contractually obligated to pay. They also said that Hertz is trying to arrange up about $2 billion in financing to help it get through the Chapter 11. It's not clear how the cars will be sold. Perhaps they'll be available through Hertz's own sales website, but this could be good news for people shopping for used cars. Used car sales are rebounding well during the COVID-19 pandemic, while new car sales are lagging. Hey, for those of you looking for a car, here's some news you could probably use. So Hertz Rent-A-Car, the rent-a-car company, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and in their filing with the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, it is said that Hertz has until December 31st of 2020 to get rid of 182,521 cars as part of a $650 million temporary deal between Hertz and the lenders. Of course, the Wall Street Journal was the one that broke the story. So I don't particularly, they said that they possibly may be selling the cars on Hertz.com in their car selling section. So, you may be able to find a good deal of these cars that they have to get rid of in order to comply with their filing for bankruptcy, which they did back in May due to the pandemic shutting down, airport travel as much as it has, that a lot of these companies, again, cannot afford to stay afloat, let alone have the same crew amount that they've had in previous times. Even when, the airlines was on strike, they were still able to kind of stay afloat, because if air travel was paused, at least people were then still going to the airport to rent vehicles. And being that the people cannot fly anymore, and then people are, certain states have been on lockdown, people have not rented cars to drive in particular states because of these set lockdowns. So yeah, not only has the airline industry been hit hard, but so has the car rental industry been hit hard as well. But it may be a great opportunity for a second car, or And lastly, happy birthday to former President Barack Obama. The former president turned 59 on Tuesday and was honored on social media by his wife Michelle Obama, who shared a throwback family photo of the couple with their daughters, Malia, who's now 22, and Sasha, who is 19. Happy birthday to my favorite guy. Happy birthday to my favorite guy. Here's to all the good days, blue skies, new adventures to come. Mrs. Obama, 56, wrote. Last week, the former First Lady welcomed her husband of nearly 3 decades as the first guest on her new podcast, the Michelle Obama Podcast, which she has promised will be a series of candid conversations. One of the reasons I fell in love with you is because you are guided by the principles that we are each other's brother and sister's keeper. The mother of 2 told President Obama. During the 40-minute discussion, the couple shared personal stories about how they became involved in their communities growing up and how they translate their efforts into civil service. The Obamas also shared their hopes for the future of the country, shifting the conversation to their college-age daughters as well. Lastly, but definitely not least, yesterday, which was Tuesday, was former President Barack Obama's birthday, former President Barack Hussein Obama's birthday, and we want to make sure we wish him a happy birthday, happy belated birthday again, or happy birthday and then happy belated birthday, because this will be the next day. And thank you for your service and dedication to civil service. Thank you for bringing a level of dignity and respect to the White House that I'm hoping a lot of people miss now that we have been with this particular president for as many years as we have. Hopefully you realize the difference when you're so quick to judge a book by its cover, and the actual book is a lot better than the secondhand novel on paperback. So, thank you so much for being the great example of not only a man, but a black man that shines a total light on the endless possibilities of everyone from our communities and beyond. So, thank you. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.